Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And if you like this show as much as I know you do, you're gonna give us that 5-star review.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so head on over to abcboxing.com, read the scoring criteria.
Dan, that was quite a weekend of fights, my friend.
Yeah, it was. A lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that was a good show. Talk to you later, everybody. No, that was wild. So obviously I was at the fights.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little touch and go about when I was going to be able to get there and all of that in the lead up. I had to take care of some things in the office as well. So I had to sprint over to the arena to get there just in time for the 7:00 when they were, you had to check in by.
Okay.
So I sprinted from the News Corp building at, 46th or 47th and 6th. And I sprinted all the way from there to the entrance at 31st and 8th.
It's a long run.
That was a long run in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweaty mess when I got there.
So if you
Totally out of breath.
if you miss 7:00, you're out.
Not necessarily.
Oh.
But I was trying to get hold of the listed contact there, and I wasn't hearing back from her. So I was like, all right, I probably shouldn't chance it.
I think Nate Diaz could have got you in.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
He's just slapping people for any reason.
Honestly, if either of the two of them is going to know me, it's actually Dylan.
Okay, that's true.
Because we obviously know Dylan, but Dylan has no pull there, so
Okay,
it
yeah.
wouldn't have helped. But yeah, like I was telling one of the other UFC people there, members of the staff there, about kind of what happened. They're like, oh, listen, if you don't hear from her, talk to me, talk to someone else, just reach out. We'll take care of it. It's not a problem. So I was like, all right, good to know. Live and learn for next time. Hopefully next time I just show up, for all the fights, because I missed 2 fights entirely before I even walked in the building. And then I didn't even really get to catch much of the next 2 fights as I was kind of getting set up and trying to drink water for all the loss of fluid.
Yeah.
That I had sweating off my sprint. But I mean, once we got set up and everything, my goodness, UFC 281. I don't know how it felt to you at home, Dan, but I thought this was the fight of the year, the event of the year.
Tough to say. I think there's some contenders. I think it's a little recent, but we gotta look back at other cards. You had 275 was really good. The first London card was really good.
See, I'm loath to pick a non-pay-per-view over this one because there are so many good finishes here, and there were some good title fights and stuff.
But London's the first card I made the broadcast, so yeah, that's probably why it would win the best card of the year.
The greatest criteria for this particular category. 275 was fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, that was a good card.
And that was your birthday.
It was, and there is a link between these 2 cards. There's 2 links actually, 2 fighters in common on both cards. Actually, 3. Can you name the 3 fighters who competed on both 275 and 281?
Well, we got Wei Li.
Yep, absolutely, Zhang Wei Li.
Well, Glover was there.
It doesn't count. We're talking about actually competition.
I should have looked at that card.
No. You got to do it from memory.
Yeah,
I'm making you do it from memory.
Okay, I don't have it then.
That's all right. We got Sung
Oh wait,
Choi.
Frivola.
No, Frivola was not on there.
Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't fought since January until this weekend.
Okay.
He was trying to get a fight. He couldn't get one. But yeah, Sung Choi was
That's
one.
right. Okay.
And Silvana Gomez Juarez.
You know what? I did know that one.
Mm-hmm. But Zhang Wei Li is the only one who won at both events. So, I mean, really, she's kind of like the MVP of the year.
Kind of.
Yeah, MVF, most valuable fighter. But no, I mean, look, like I said, I can't speak for how it felt not being in the arena, but this really was, I would say, top to bottom, the best fight card that I ever experienced live.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I don't think that's recency bias. I think this actually stands out.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been insane for the.
Because there were there's no clunkers here, man. Like, basically from...
I mean, the double knockdown, like, that set it off, right?
I was walking back to my seat when Frivola and Azaitar were fighting, and that didn't last very long. So pretty much from there on is like everything I experienced in the arena.
Mm.
And then even before that, I mean, Oldberg and Negumereanu was wild. Trezanu versus Sung Woo Choi, that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I got to catch that later, and Frivola's knockout too was great. But I mean, Petrosky and Turman, it was it was a fine fight, nothing crazy, but it was a fine fight. Aaron Blanchfield,
That
looked
was
fantastic. Ryan Span, I mean, I'm just gonna kind of rattle off real quick. Ryan Span just destroyed Dominic Reyes. And
mhm.
Nato Moicano looked like a man possessed against Brad Riddell. Then the main card, of course, Dan Hooker looked great and made everybody feel happy because they got Claudio Puelles out there. No one in the garden was happy with him. I don't know if that came across on the broadcast, but it was
You know what? That was not good. That
yeah, it
early
was
on,
not popular.
that first round reminded me of Paul Harris and Alan Belcher, the way Dan was defending.
Okay,
And
that was
then
in Newark too. That was
yeah, I was yep,
same water, pretty much.
right. And then after that, it started reminding me of Ryan Hall diving on I forget his name, but yeah, he kept just diving to the ground trying to get a leg lock, and then
No, that's not
got
very
knocked
helpful.
out. Yeah, so that's what it reminded me of.
Oh.
And
Well,
then, but also, but you know what? It was good to have all this high energy stuff, and then have a fighter come out to a super high energy song in the most boring way possible, and then just stare there like
can I
they
just say
don't want to be there.
you specifically left Carla Esparza off of the rundown here. And I respected that. I knew you didn't want to talk about her, and you still couldn't resist.
Might as well take one more shot.
I've only had good experiences dealing with her. That's all I can say. But to kind of circle it back here, this for me, it's the event of the year. I think, like you said, 275 stands out. That's certainly a rival. I know London was fun, but there's levels, right? Title fights and classic
Yeah.
fights and this kind of thing. I think 275 had the more classic fight happen there, but I think on the whole, this was a stronger pay-per-view card, and I think prelims as well. So that's why it stands out for me. And it most definitely is the most electric fight card that I think I've ever been to.
Right.
I feel pretty good about that one. But on to the actual happenings of the fights here and kind of the repercussions. Alex Pereira is the champion now.
Yeah.
It just highlights how weird this sport of mixed martial arts is, that someone who has really only been training as a mixed martial artist for just a couple of years after being a stand at one sport walks in and now he's the champion.
He is the champ.
This is like a throwback to like Brock Lesnar. That's like the closest
Really
you
is,
can come
yeah.
up with.
Yeah,
As far as
that's
I
about
keep
it.
struggling to come up with anybody else, but Brock's like the only one that comes to mind. As someone who was dominant in one thing, comes in and just very quickly gets himself to the top. Very unique.
I mean, does Rousey count? Probably not.
Probably, but also it's a little different because women's MMA was
Yeah.
still not as evolved as
Mm.
men's is now. And certainly it's made leaps and bounds since then too, but it was still a little more in, I guess, not its infancy, but let's say women's MMA was more in like almost like a toddler stage
Okay.
at that point. And with her popularity, it kind of attracted more and more women to come and find it, and it's certainly helped the sport of women's MMA grow by leaps and bounds. But yeah,
Mm.
so I think you're right, but I don't want to put it in the same category.
All right.
But the question I have for you, sir, Israel Adesanya, should he get the immediate rematch?
Of
Do you
course.
want the immediate rematch?
Yes,
You want it.
I do.
Why?
Because it's really the only fight that makes sense. How are these other guys going to get a title shot over Izzy right
I think I
away?
understand.
How do they jump him? He's
I
beat
don't
them all.
necessarily disagree, but just it's the idea that Pereira's already beaten him 3 times. How many times has he got to beat him before he just stops having to fight him anymore?
Well, he's only beat him once in MMA.
Sure, but now he's beat him 3 times.
First one's a close decision. Second one was a similar situation to this
I
one.
watched the fights.
It's
I know.
I think you got to go this. Hey, and you can't. I mean, if it's not him, then obviously it's got to be Whitaker. But how many
Yeah, I would
shots?
think so.
How many
If it
chances
is
can he
not
have?
him, yeah, I would think Whitaker would be the logical next step here if it's not Adesanya. To be fair, I'm being devil's advocate here. I actually agree. I think the immediate rematch is the one that makes the most sense. But I mean, should he win that one? Can they realistically put together Adesanya Pereira 3 in MMA if he's already
Well,
lost 2 there and then 2 in the other one?
no, because Pereira's got Izzy's number. He's not going to be. I don't think he can really match up well against the rest of the division at the top of it. So
No, I don't
that's
disagree. I think probably it's the best thing for Pereira too, to buy him a little bit more time to grow his well-roundedness in the
Yeah,
sport. I actually did. I asked him because I was writing a column. I asked Pereira, I mean, do you consider yourself a mixed martial artist and a kickboxer who's now a mixed martial artist, or a kickboxer who's competing in MMA, like someone who's not really a mixed martial artist? He thinks of himself as a mixed martial artist.
okay.
Stands to reason, of
Mm,
course, but, he says he likes training MMA. He really he likes all the elements of it. He's not
okay,
just, like, doing he's not taking his one thing and just moving it over. He is trying to adapt, so
okay.
give it a little bit more time before he has to face some of the other but the other thing is too, I mean, as much as you might say, "Oh, he's gotta catch up to maybe some other people who are more well-rounded," they have to catch up to the fact that he is a devastatingly dangerous striker,
For sure. But
so
yeah, I
it's a two-way street. But yeah, I think ultimately we agree on the idea that yeah, the immediate rematch is probably the one that makes the most sense. And what about obviously this went your way, like we alluded to. Zhang Wei Li is now the champion again at women's strawweight. It was pretty much the most expected result on the card from in most people's eyes. But do you think she's better set up now to put together a longer title run than she did the previous time? Maybe actually have like a decent lengthy strawweight title run, which we haven't seen
yeah,
since Joanna.
I would think so.
Mhm.
I would think, yeah. I mean, are they gonna set up to let her revenge the two losses to Rose
I
again?
doubt they'd do that right
But
away. I don't think anyone is clamoring for Rose Namajunas to get the next title shot, not after the last performance, so she's gonna have to earn that.
yeah,
She's
I mean,
and
but
she
the
certainly
story's
may,
there.
but, like, I don't think she's just gonna walk into anything.
The story's there though. She is still number one.
Sure. No, I don't disagree, but yeah, she's probably gonna have to get another fight in, and all the momentum is around Amanda Lemos.
Yeah, that one too. So
Which I had completely I missed this. We were talking about this earlier today. I missed this at some point. Jessica Andrade was booked to face Lauren Murphy in February at flyweight. So as much as I was thinking, oh, how can Lemos skip the line over Andrade, who beat her earlier this year with the arm triangle choke? It doesn't matter. She's not fighting in the division right now, so it's fair. It's
all
fair
right,
for
yeah,
Lemos
so
there.
yeah, all right,
I'm
go
okay with it.
Lemos. That's fine.
I have no problem with it, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would have to think that right now, Zhang would be favored on Lemos.
Yeah, I would think so.
Hmm.
The one that I think would beat them all if she ever can come back to is Tatiana Suarez, but I don't know if she's ever gonna get to fight again.
Yeah, we talk about that a
So,
lot, you and I, don't we? It's a real shame what happened because it's really just like her body's just can't cooperate
mm-hmm,
with her with the fact that she is this incredible talent, I think, and we'll never really get to know
mm-hmm,
even if she makes it back, like we'll never know what she could have been.
yeah,
Even if she makes it to the championship, it's like, man, she could have had even more, but who knows? I'm sure she's got bigger battles going on than that, right?
mm.
But outside of the title fights, Dustin Poirier getting the job done in what was obviously, I think everyone predicted too, this was going to be the fight of the night. Fulfilled that. I don't know if it's like fight of the year the way Chandler versus Gaethje was last year, at least for me. It was a fantastic fight. We've had some amazing fights this year too. This was a great fight, but it wasn't quite at that level, I don't think.
Round one might be like a round of the year contender.
Oh, so yeah,
So,
that's entirely possible. Though we've had some really good entries in that category too. I think of Terrence McKinney and Drew Dober.
yep,
That stands
that's a
out.
good one.
I know there was a couple. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to actually I'm gonna have to go over that for the
got
MMAJA
yeah,
awards committee soon.
Suma Derji and Matt Schnell. He was really
Yes,
good.
that was wild too. Good thing I went upstairs for an athlete who never made it back there for that round. Missed that one live. That is not the athlete's fault. That is not the athlete's fault. I do not blame that athlete. And I'm not going to name the athlete, but nonetheless, not the athlete's fault. Any hooser. In relation to Dustin Poirier, though, do you think he has much more work to do to get another chance at the title, or do you think maybe once they sort out what was announced, which is of course Alexander Volkanovski moving up, he's going to fight Islam Makhachev in February for the title. Once that's cleared up, does Dustin Poirier get that shot?
No, I think Dariush deserves the first crack after that.
Does Dariush need to win another fight, though? Does he need to
I didn't
fight
think
Poirier?
that's well that Habib recommended that be on the same card, and I agree with
Oh,
it.
I imagine.
Poirier, Poirier and Dariush title eliminator on the same card as Makhachev and Volkanovski.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So,
It's for Khabib to try and matchmake around his buddy.
mm-hmm. So that would be good, and then set up a fight probably in July. The way things go.
I I'm torn because I don't like the idea of Dariush not getting his chance because realistically he's done enough that he probably ought to be getting there. And we've had the same carousel of top contenders kind of getting these shots, and that's not a knock on Dustin Poirier. It's just he's amazing, but also maybe it is time for a little bit of fresh blood to get in there who's quite deserving too. But yeah, I do kind of like the idea ultimately
Mm,
of Poirier and Dariush.
all right.
I don't know when they're gonna do that. I don't know. When I spoke to Dustin a couple weeks ago, he was off for 11 months. He didn't want to be off for 11 months. He wanted to fight. He didn't really know why he wasn't getting a fight.
Yeah, just put him on the card with Makachev and Volkanovski.
That is 3 months away. Is he gonna want to turn it around that quick? I don't know,
Yeah, he
but
should.
we'll see.
He should.
Well, that's what you say always. Is Michael Chandler done as a championship contender? That's the question I have about him.
Well, here's the thing. For now, he's done.
Okay,
155 tough division. A lot of it's just stacked really. I don't know how many more wars Chandler can withstand. But he's a
but that's
guy.
the thing.
He's
That's
a guy
that's part
I
of the
will
equation.
never count him out. So
I don't know. I think it's because of these wars that you got to start wondering if he can get back there. Like who's he gonna fight, and then that catapult him back into the mix. I know. Look, the UFC loves him. I get it. I kind of know what you're saying, but man, I don't know if that's gonna be enough, dude. I think he's chasing that Connor fight hardcore. Like at pretty much any chance he gets, he throws out the idea of fighting Conor McGregor. He knows where the money is. He's not a dummy. He
well,
knows
yeah,
he
if
can
he
make a lot of money. He
well,
knows he can make that fight big too.
well, Dustin knew the Connor fight was worth more than the title fight. So
Sure, sure, absolutely. But Chandler in particular is, I mean, he is not being shy about the fact that he really wants this fight to get made.
yeah, well, how many more big money Connor fights are there?
With Nate Diaz gone, that eliminates one.
Like, I think Michael Chandler's the only Connor fight that people would like be super super interested in,
I think that's the
unless
one that would make sense as a comeback fight. Yeah,
unless
I would agree.
somehow he gets to fight Makachev, and then that would be huge.
God, I don't want to
But
live
I'm
in
just
that
saying
world.
that
I
like,
don't want to live in that world, man. That's not where I want to be.
'cause
I don't
I
like it.
think he's losing his luster. He's got to win some fights at some point, right?
Well, I was talking to an Irish journalist the other day, and he was saying that to a degree, the profile of Connor is it's not the same as it was.
Mm,
The longer he stays out, that's only going to change. That's going to get even more so.
okay.
So he may want to, if he really does want to fight again. Look, there's probably always going to be an interest in him, but like the farther you get away, it's like the people will move on, you know.
Yeah. It's like,
And
well,
he's even
John
fight
Jones
it.
was mentioned again.
Can he even fight at 55 anymore? He'll probably fight at 170 anyway, now that he's been getting swole while not being tested by USADA.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Who knows why?
Yeah.
Who knows what his methods are, but just those two facts are together, and we'll leave it at that.
Proper
Um,
12.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's bringing
Proper
a lot of
12.
proper 12,
Yeah.
and that's what's giving him all these jacked up,
Yeah.
unnatural musculature. Gotcha. I wouldn't know. I don't drink, so. But the last one I have for you, sir, before we get into our contested rounds is, and I couldn't think of anything I wanted to talk about with Frankie Edgar that involved this weekend because it just the unfortunate way of
Sad closing.
careers coming to an end in combat sports is the way this played out. Frankie took the knee; it was
Mm.
over. The chin is obviously gone. You hope that the effects aren't going to really inhibit him going forward because he's taken a lot of punishment in almost 8 hours of UFC cage time. But my question for you is this, sir: other than Frankie versus Gray Maynard #2, which is I think probably the iconic Frankie Edgar fight. Like I think that one
Yeah.
goes without saying. That's number one. Other than that, what is your favorite Frankie Edgar fight?
Well, I mean, I loved Maynard 3 because, at the time I wasn't really a big Maynard fan. Uh,
Mhm.
the Benson fights were great. I think we watched both together.
I believe we did.
The first Cub Swanson fight was one of the best performances Frankie's ever put on. But probably my favorite was when he beat Sean Shirk because I am very far from a Sean Shirk guy. So I loved seeing that.
Well, that was his coming out party too. So
Mm,
obviously there's an element to that where it was kind of like, man, look at this guy. He really emerged as something else. But granted, if I don't know if you remember his fight against Tyson Griffin, his
mhm,
UFC debut, but like that was a wild fight too. And that was like everyone thought Tyson Griffin was like a thing.
mhm.
And then Frankie comes in and he wins that fight. It's like, man, this guy's something. And
Yeah.
he obviously proved himself to be something very special in this sport. But I think the fight other than that fight that stands out, the other than the Maynard fight, and I'm actually going to leave the Maynard series altogether alone entirely. Although I do love the third fight as well. That one's fantastic. I'll give you one. Him versus Yair Rodriguez.
Okay.
A total domination of just like someone who obviously he was still a prospect at this point. Yair, he
Right.
wasn't quite at the level I think a lot of people would like him to have been at that point, but he just destroyed Yair Rodriguez. That was kind of the last time Frankie was like really Frankie,
Okay.
because it was right after that where he started getting knocked out. He like in the fight after that, he got knocked out by Brian Ortega.
Mhm.
A couple years or a year and a half later, it was Chan Sung Jung, and then we had 3 knockouts in the last 2 years. So yeah, before that fight, he was like that was like the last vestige of Frankie being like this dominant force who wasn't quite the champion. He wasn't quite at Jose's level. He was there, but he was definitely the B to the A.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like you want to remember that, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But having said that, we have to point out the fact that there just weren't a ton of rounds that needed to be scored on this event here,
No, they
sir. We had
good judging, good finishes.
3 decisions and we had 7 first round finishes.
That's a good combo for not a lot of rounds.
I believe 7 ties the record for most first round finishes in a UFC.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
So that obviously makes it. There's 7 fights out of how many was it? 14. So half of them didn't need to be scored at all. Made it a lot easier. But we do have 4 contested rounds, none of which were on the pay-per-view card, which that's got to be a first for us.
Yeah, that is. It's
I can't remember another time that we've done this show and none of the rounds that we were going to talk about were from the pay-per-view. I thought there was a decent chance that we would at least be talking about round 1 of Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler, because that was a round that obviously Michael Chandler was winning pretty handily for about 4 minutes and 15
right.
seconds.
Yeah.
And then Dustin just cracks him and the whole round changes, and Chandler is most definitely hurt to a
Mhm.
high degree,
Yeah.
to the point where, yes, that's where you start to say, okay, he stole the round. You don't steal it on a takedown. You steal it on high, high damage at the end.
Yeah.
And not just one strike, but in a
A
big
bunch of
way.
them. Yeah.
In a bunch of them. And he was really hurt considerably for a while. Similar almost to actually, well, in a different way. And I know I'm delaying getting into contested rounds, but think of the first round of Adesanya and Pereira.
Yeah.
The way that round was going for, and this was for 4 minutes and like 55 seconds. I thought it was a really close
That
round.
was
I
very
think you could have
close.
you could have gone either way. I think Pereira might have been where I was kind of leaning up to that point.
Mhm.
And then Adesanya just cracks him, and Adesanya and Pereira is most definitely hurt, very visibly hurt. It's not after the bell. You can see it in that moment. He is hurt.
Yeah, he was
And I
hurt.
think that is where all the judges probably flipped on if I was,
At
if
least
they weren't already
solidified.
going that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, when I was sitting cage side, though, I didn't have a very strong angle at even seeing how hurt Pereira was. So as I'm watching this fight, I thought, oh, round 1 was pretty close.
Okay.
But I was talking with somebody about it today, and then I knew everyone was asking all the questions about, oh, if you had a few more seconds, da 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 da. But I watched it myself again today, and I was like, oh yeah, that's an easy round, easy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's get to these contested rounds, the ones that actually were contested, sir. And let's start with this was the only fight that anyone was really talking about from a judging standpoint. It was for a different reason than the scores of each round themselves. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's start with the 2 contested rounds in Karolina Kowalkiewicz against Silvana Gomez Juarez, which Kowalkiewicz won on 29-28 all across. But again, there's 2 rounds split here. So one judge flipped on 2 rounds.
Yeah, it's a really close round. They're both primarily throwing jabs. This is round 2, right? Yeah.
Yes, round 2. We'll start with round 2.
Yeah, it's a really close round. They're both, like I said, just throwing jabs that are missing. It takes a while before anyone actually really connects. I think Kowalkiewicz landed better early, but as the round progresses, Gomez Juarez is finding a home for her right a few times. I think it's really close. I got no qualms either way, but I'm scoring it for Gomez. I think she had a tad more impact on her strikes. 10-9.
Yeah, that was my thinking too. It's a very tough one because they did get very active in this round. And anytime you have that, and you're not throwing as much power at this weight class as you can maybe at some other weight classes, it does get tough. We talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I think you can detect the power difference here, and I think Gomez Juarez is the one who's landing it too. So I'm with you. I saw for her 10-9. We were united with judges Mike Bell and Sal D'Amato. It was Dave Torelli who saw this one for Kovalevich. Again, close. I could understand why, especially from your vantage point. Maybe you're seeing things just a little differently.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, easy to see both sides here. In round 3, though, another close round.
Yes, another close round. Gomez Suarez comes out this round pretty aggressive here. She's landing a bit more than the last round. I think both women actually found their range in this round. In round 2, they were completely out of their range. They were missing by a mile, it seemed early.
I think they were having trouble getting on track because the first round was kind of more on
Yeah.
the mat.
Yep. So it appears Gomez Suarez is landing some decent shots, but there's like little reaction to them. Not changing Kovacevich's offense, and I think the more effective offense is on Kovacevich's side. Plus, she lands a left hand that puts Gomez Suarez on the mat. I'm not saying it's 100% the reason she went down, but I'm thinking that punch was the main cause. I don't really see a trip. Again, really close round, 10-9 Kovacevic.
Yeah, I went the other way. I did see this one for Gomez Juarez, but yeah, super close for all the reasons you kind of outlined. I think I can understand what you're saying there as maybe she's reacting a little bit differently. I didn't quite see it the same degree. Maybe you did, so that's why I stuck with Gomez Juarez. But yeah, close. This is a super close fight.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those fights that you understand if it went one or the other. All 3 judges ended up. By the way, I had it as same as Judge Torelli did. You had it the same as Judges Bell and D'Amato. So I ended up being the only one of us 5, the 3 judges and you and I, who saw the fight for Gomez Juarez. But super close. I'm in no way offended that it went the other way.
All right.
But a lot of people had some questions about what was going on between the end of the 3rd round and the announcement of the totally mundane all 3 judges 29-28 for Kovalevich, because you see a commission official coming out into the cage just as Buff's standing there. He's got his little scorecards, kind of comes in and just like takes the card right out of Buff's hand and starts trying to like, no, we gotta make a correction here. And he's like trying to like write it on his knee or something like that. And all of a sudden he ends up holding it up against the cage. And we all see he's making these changes to the scorecards. And everyone's like, what's going on? Now I was still trying to set up at the arena at this point. I'm like still trying to dry off and everything. So I'm kind of catching up on a lot of this later on, today and then later in the evening as well, trying to figure out some questions. But yeah, it was a weird scene, to say the least. We don't see that a whole lot. What were you thinking as you're watching this?
I saw this one late, but yeah, when I first saw it, I said, "Oh wow, they're allowing the camera to zoom right in on it here." Typically, they would kind of try to keep that hidden, I would think.
Yeah, you would think so, but I mean, it was probably too hard to tell which name was which. I mean,
yeah,
we see
no,
scorecards
I
more
couldn't
often
read off of
than
it,
other
but
people do. So
yeah, and interesting situation, but they got it right. I mean, they corrected it
they
before
ultimately
anything
got it,
happened. So
and the explanation, as shared by MMA Fighting Stephen Morocco, was that, and I can corroborate this too from speaking with people as well, that a NISAC commissions. This is his tweet, Morocco's tweet. A NISAC commission source tells me the scores were accidentally reversed by the scorekeeper, the one who tallies the judges' scores, and Bruce Buffer grabbed the sheet before it could be corrected. So it sounds like Buff got a little too
yeah,
anxious.
come on, Buff.
Yeah.
But you know what? The judges they enter their score onto a iPad or a tablet.
Yes.
So you would think that the score would populate over to like the scorekeeper's tablet if he has one. I don't know, but I would think he did. It should be easy.
Logic doesn't always come into play.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
But it did seem like it was taking a little bit of time, even up to that point, for that to get out. And so I don't know if maybe there was just a delay and they were having an issue or something like that. Maybe it was computer related issue. Maybe
It
they
could
had
be.
to do things by hand because of something computer related, right?
That could be.
It could be a lot of things, but who knows? I don't know. Whatever. I mean, what? It's ultimately a non-story, but everyone's sitting there like, what is going on? And of course, anytime it's related to judging and scoring, everyone just goes bonkers.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just go bonkers regarding that? It's easy. Just flip out.
You would have. Dan Urban 3 years ago would have flipped out.
Let's go 4.
4? All right,
Let's
4.
go 4 years.
All right, all right. You want to say in the lead up to us starting the show, you might have been a little different?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. What changed? What changed in 3, 4 years ago?
learning.
All right. The more you know.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on though. I think we've covered that enough. But yeah, we've got 2 more rounds. Like I said, one in the second fight of the night. Montel Jackson got the win over Queens product Julio Arce. It was 30-27 twice and a 29-28. So we're only talking about round 1 here as the split. So what did you see, sir?
Yeah, so Jackson basically almost immediately goes for a takedown. They clinch against the cage, stay there for quite some time. Exchanges some little punches, some decent knees from Jackson to the body, and then referee Mark Goddard resets them. And from there, I think it's pretty even on the feet, maybe slightly in favor of Arce, but not enough to negate what Jackson did in the clinch. And then Arce does get a decent slam in the final 3 seconds, but I think it's Jackson 10-9.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of like a round where like a lot of things happen, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
And but it just felt like I guess Jackson did less nothing. You know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
I suppose.
It's he was more effective on the whole. That's what we're looking
Yep.
for, right? The
Hmm.
more effective fighter, he was the more effective fighter over the course of 5 minutes. I think it's pretty simple as that. Close fight though. I mean,
Yeah.
close round. Not the one like I say, like I always say, you don't want to die on this hill.
No.
So I had it the same as you. I had it for Jackson 10-9. Judges Brian Miner and Sal D'Amato saw it the same way as you and I, and it was Doug Crosby who saw this one for Arce. No problem.
Yeah, no issues.
There's just not a lot of we didn't have a lot of impactful rounds in this fight or in this evening as well. It was really just the Kovalevich fight, and then we just covered that round. The final round that we will talk about from a contested round standpoint, Andre Petrosky got the win over Wellington Turman 30-27 twice and a 29-28. Round 1 is our only split round once again. What happened?
This was a fun round. They're both slugging it out. I think Petrosky's landing with heavier impact and more effect. I think he's getting better reactions. Turman's getting some immediate swelling around his left eye. But he's still landing some solid shots of his own. It's really close, and it's made even closer by Turman's elbows to close out the round while he's sitting on his back against the fence, defending the grappling of Petrosky as the round ends. But 10-9 Petrosky, no issues the other way, though.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about giving this one to Petrosky, but yeah, it's not one I'm again really up in arms about or anything either. But I would say of these 4 rounds we're discussing here, this is the one I felt like the most comfortable with my score
Okay.
being one way or the other. But again, that's not to say that you couldn't give this one determined. You outlined a lot of the reasons why it would make sense. So, but nonetheless, I agree with you. 10-9 Petrosky. We agreed with judges Doug Crosby and Dave Torelli, and it was Brian Miner who was the out judge seeing this one for Turman.
All right. Good to see
Makes
Brian
sense
Miner
to
here.
me. What's that?
Good to see Brian Miner.
A
Had a
lot of the
nice change.
judges walked by, and we'd met a lot of people when we were up in Niagara as well. So it
Mm-hmm.
was nice to say hello to everybody. Gave some fist bumps and
Yep.
and things. Saw some people.
Yep.
I did not see Brian Miner. He actually never crossed, at least in front of me where I was sitting at the. And we got to see each other in the Niagara conference. That was nice to that's the really great thing about when we went to Niagara. We got to kind of meet a lot of the officials that we discussed on this show, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see him. I
No.
mean, I knew he was
Well,
there, but I did not actually see him cross by. Maybe he was on the other side of the cage a lot. I don't
yeah,
know.
could be. But you
Good
did get
chance.
a thumbs up from Sly, so
I did. That's true. Sylvester Stallone was walking by. He was, interacting with the crowd, and I kind of just like saw him, and he was like looking at people, right? And I look up, and I just give him like a little, give him a nod, and he looks at me, and he's like, gives me a little thumbs up. I'm like, all right. That's cool. And then you found that tweet where
yeah.
I couldn't believe there was a video of him giving me a thumbs up. You know what? You can't see me in it, but like I had described what was happening, and then all of a sudden I got the video for it too. So I was like, that's mine. I own that. Rocky himself, right?
Yep. Now the
Uh,
Tulsa King.
the Tulsa Cat. Yeah, it's a show, right? Is that what's
Yeah,
coming, or
it
is it a
just
movie? I
started.
don't know.
Started
I don't
yesterday
know.
or something.
I don't know. I mean, I heard the announcements, but like I was in the arena, so I didn't see all the commercials you guys did.
Yeah,
So you probably saw a commercial for it. I
I
did not.
did. Saw a
But
lot of
yeah, I mean
commercials.
that was a wild event though. I mean, I was did I tell you when I left the arena?
Well, I got a text message from you at like 4:30.
Yeah, that was when I walked in the
So,
door of my
oh,
house.
okay.
Yeah. I left the arena at 3 it was like 3:35 or so when Alex Pereira was done with his media time.
Okay.
And it was around like not long before he came out, I realized that my last bus out of town until 6 a.m. was at 4 a.m. So I said, well, I'm gonna try and catch that.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to
So
be on.
I mean, look, if push came to shove, if I was gonna miss it, I would probably have just taken an Uber and then like, maybe expensed it and said, yeah, you guys can pay for that to my work. That's a viable use of company expenses.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's better than asking them to pay for a hotel for me to sleep in for 3 hours.
Huh.
Oh man. But yes, nonetheless, I ended up getting out of there. I sprinted down out of the arena, got out. I never go out the right way. This time I went out the right way, so it made it a lot easier for me to get over to Port Authority, get my
That's good.
bus. And I was sprinted like half the way. And then
Okay.
I realized I was making excellent time. So I'm like, I can just walk from here.
All right.
But it was brisk walk because
Yeah,
it gets colorful at 4:30 at
it's a New
night
York
or
walk.
3:30 at night in New York. Yeah, you
We're not
don't want to linger.
strolling.
You just don't linger
Yeah.
is kind of the deal. At least not when you're by yourself carrying a backpack.
Yeah, and at that point, you don't have to wait for the thing to tell you it's okay to cross.
I never do.
You
I
just
just go
you
when I
just
know I'm
go.
safe.
Yeah,
I know how it works. It's
yeah.
okay. You don't get ticketed for jaywalking in New York City.
It's probably not even
You
a thing.
maybe it's not. Pretty much the city just smells like marijuana all the time anyway. So I'm not even ticketing for that at this point. But nonetheless, we already talked about the fact that there were 11 finishes. The
Mm-hmm.
11's the actual number of finishes. 7 of which ended in the first round. 7 were TKOs, 4 by submission. We had a lot of choices, sir. What was your favorite
Well,
choice?
my favorite was Renato Moicano. He looked fantastic. He destroyed Brad Riddell and then he choked him.
That choke was right in front of that was at the panel that I had the best view
Okay.
of.
He
So that was
didn't
really I had a good view of that.
like Brad Riddell was like in that point. He's like, "You got this choke. I'm not even gonna defend it. Like, just choke me so it's more respectable." And I'll tap. That's kind of what it was. It's like, you got it. I know you got it. Just sink it in a little deeper.
That's another fight I should watch from home and see how different it looks.
And then that post fight interview. Moicano's my guy now. Money
I'm glad you found a
Moicano.
guy.
Money Moicano.
I want you to find more guys.
That's my
Because I
guy.
feel like a lot of the sport is leaving you behind, but I don't
It's
want you to be
trying
left
to.
behind.
No,
I
I know.
want you.
Moicano wants me to stay.
Who are some of your other guys? You must have other guys. Is it just Moicano now?
I'm a
I'm talking about like new guys.
Bo Nickel.
Okay, you're just
Yeah,
jumping into the Bo Nickel train.
Bo Nickel is gonna beat Petrosky when they fight
Okay.
because that's what Petrosky wants. And Bo Nickel's gonna be. He probably shouldn't have wanted that.
I guess we'll see, right?
But what is your finish? I left this one for you because I figured you would like this one.
You thought I was gonna pick this one?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. All right. Would you have picked it?
If you didn't pick this, I probably would have switched.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, the mystery fight that we're talking about is Aaron Blanchfield getting the win over Molly McCann via Kimura. We watched her very quickly get the fight to the ground from side control all the way into the crucifix, which she just used to destroy Molly McCann for a while, but not to a degree that I think we were. I don't think anybody was sitting there saying, "Oh, stop the fight! She's taking too much
Hey,
damage."
no, listen to this.
I want to hear this.
I watched the post fight with
Okay.
John Anik on the panel, and he
All right.
said he was taken aback by referee Kevin McDonald not getting closer, ready to stop it in that situation. He said,
I wonder if he was more taken aback by the idea that he wasn't like right there.
that's what it was. Yeah, he said I didn't like the fact that he wasn't up there giving warnings, that he's going to get close. But I'm like, these
So his
weren't
argument was more about the position rather than the
more about his
actual idea of stopping it or not.
right. Yes, more
Okay.
about being in the position to stop it in case it gets bad.
I see.
That's what Anik was upset. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I would
thought it was
disagree.
fine.
I would
Yeah,
disagree. I don't see any problem with it. Like
yeah,
it's not like there was going to be the one bomb that was going to land from because there's only so much leverage she can really create from that position to begin with, you know?
yeah.
There wasn't going to be the one shot that was going to put her out.
Right, but I mean,
Like at some
they
point, if
were,
she's not defending well and the shots are getting hard enough, you can't stop it, of
yeah,
course.
they
We've
were
seen
adding up.
stoppages.
It's
Yeah, they were,
yeah. So
but I was personally, I was okay with the stoppage from my vantage point as far as like, or the non-stoppage, I should say. She
also,
switches, nonetheless, she switches over to the Kimura, and she gets it behind her back, and I'm like, oh, that thing is tight. But like, I even said, like, man, she's got to get the leg over. I don't think it's actually going to
mm,
work out. And then she tries to get the leg over. Molly defends it. To her credit, that was a really good defense of that. It was like total desperation, like keeping
mm-hmm.
the leg from stepping over. Erin abandons it and she gets it again, but this time she's got the leg over like before she really starts to crank, and it's like already over before it's begun.
Scott, there was like a minute and a half left in the round. That was trending 10-7 for sure. I think.
Maybe.
I think 100%. I think we would have got at least one, maybe.
I'm not bold enough to say that we would have
I
actually gotten it.
if it continued with that, where she just kept elbowing her from the crucifix and landed 200 strikes. She was at like 111 strikes landed at
I'm gonna
that
look it
point.
up. Do you remember
So
offhand who the judges were for that one?
I believe it was Sal D'Amato, Mike Bell, and Dave Torelli.
It was. You were right. I just looked that up too. I mean, I was quizzing you. No, I
Oh,
seriously
thank you.
just looked it up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could see a scenario where a 10-7 comes into play. I don't know, but when do you pull the card? It's really hard.
Well, it was a total beatdown,
Yeah,
total outclassing.
sure.
I think there was overwhelming all 3Ds, and that's why it was finished. Because
Overwhelming is what you look for, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So the question is, it took almost a minute for the fight to get down there, and there was at least a little bit of competitiveness on the feet before that. Is that not overwhelming? I don't know. I mean, that's in the moment.
oh from
Does the judge do it or not?
mm,
It's one thing to talk about it, but then in the moment, do they do it or not?
yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
It's tricky.
We can't see. I can't even say we'll see because we
No,
can't
we'll
see.
never see it. But when I saw how much time was on the clock and she had that had the Kimura on the first time, I'm like, yeah, she's
Did
gonna win this
Did you
fight.
get to
It's
watch
already
it?
over.
Did you get to watch it, or you only saw what you saw in the arena?
Oh, did I
Oh
rewatch it since I got
yeah.
home? I did rewatch it at
Oh,
home, yeah.
okay. Because Joe Rogan was like pleading with her. He's like,
Oh, that's right. At the end,
please
he's like,
tap,
"Please,
please
please
tap.
tap." Yeah, I meant to mention that too. Yeah, he was all worried about the spiral fractures,
Yeah,
rightfully so.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want someone to be just too. Don't say, don't just say you got to break it. It's not a title fight, lady. And
Mm,
granted, she didn't do that. So she was
yeah.
smart. She tapped.
Yep.
I don't mean to like sound like I'm critical of Molly McCann. She did what she was supposed to do. She fought it off when she was able to defend it. When she couldn't anymore, she tapped. I
Mm-hmm.
think she handled it the way you would want to handle it
Yep.
in the smartest, most able way she could. But great performance from Aaron Blanchfield. I thought it was a real shame that someone who was from North Jersey, like literally 25 minutes away from the city, like
Yeah.
got booed pretty heavily at the Garden.
That Molly's got a huge following.
I get
So
it, but man, come on, New York. You gotta step it up. I know it's Jersey, but like it's still our people. We're all one people around here.
mm,
I didn't like that, but you know what? She got the job done, right?
yeah.
Jersey represent. North Jersey represent. South Jersey, whatever. South Jersey sucks, except
Wow.
for Frankie.
Okay.
Yeah, but where he was born?
Where was he born? Oh, I did
Summit, New
hear. Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah. Jersey City.
North Jersey.
Yeah.
No, Summit.
Oh, he was born in Summit.
Summit. Yeah.
Summit.
Mhm.
All right. I think that wraps up UFC 281.
It does. It does. It was a fantastic card, but we will have to move on because we've got a couple fight cards this weekend, Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
And actually, there's a one card as well on Saturday night, but we're not really going to talk about that much because, well, the judging there works way differently, and we
Yeah.
don't feel like getting into that.
Just
So
different. Just different.
it's super, super freaking different. Anyway, Bellator 288 Friday night. Of the two cards, this is definitely the better card to me, at least on the main card.
Yeah, I think so. For sure.
Without question, Vadim Nemkov, Corey Anderson, round 2 or fight 2, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
because the last time they tried this, it ended in no contest, an unfortunate no contest. in a fight that
Unfortunate,
looked
yeah.
like it was kind of going Corey Anderson's
Yeah,
way.
Corey Anderson was taking over a little bit.
But I spoke with Corey last week, and I mean, he acknowledges like, look, it's a different fight now. Like, I'm gonna adjust tactics, he's gonna adjust tactics, and yes, we'll see. But I think he must feel very confident about the way things went in the last time, and how much of that can probably carry into the
Mhm.
next fight. So, but this, of course, it's not just the light heavyweight title for Bellator that's up for grabs. It is the Bellator light heavyweight Grand Prix final
Yeah, so
and the $1 million
$1,000,000.
prize that's up for grabs. This is easily the biggest stakes fight of the weekend, like by a mile.
Yep.
So I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, yeah, I am
I want to
too.
see if Nemkov can really adjust because I thought that he was like the better fighter going into that, and he definitely. I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I'm leaning Corey Anderson here, but if Nemkov can make the right adjustments based on the way the first fight was going, who knows?
We'll see. We'll see. That's what I liked about it. That's why I'm looking forward to watching it. And then the other title fight, because there's two Bellator title fights here, is Patricky Pitbull, the lightweight champion, defending his belt against Usman Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, I mean that guy probably never gonna lose.
Well, I mean, Usman lost once. Nurmagomedov did
I
not.
know, but the combination of the two is kind of
I know.
just
It's scary.
deadly.
It's scary. No, it's I mean, God, I had the opportunity. I didn't get the chance to do it just because I was so I guess over encumbered by my UFC 281 coverage. But I was given the chance to potentially have some time with Usman last week, and it just didn't work out. So it was too bad. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he measures up against ostensibly the best lightweight on the Bellator roster.
Yeah, it should be a good fight. Let's hope, because this is a card I'm actually gonna watch. So
I don't think this one will disappoint. But
well, the
we've
Pitbulls
said that
usually,
before.
oh, both Pitbulls are usually in good fights. So
Oh, for sure, for sure.
so
This one's in Illinois.
good old Chicago.
I imagine it will largely be the same type of judges that Bellator tends to bring in whenever they travel. Guys who work at Mohegan Sun frequently. So, maybe the Eric Colognes and kind of the other Northeast based people. Doug Crosby might be there. I'm speculating, but I think those are the type of people I'd expect to end up there. Would Sal D'Amato go there? Would he go to Las Vegas? Who knows? Ron McCarthy, all these people. It's going to be a good mix of people at both this one and the UFC card the next night in Las Vegas.
Who's to say
But
they can't do
actually,
both?
before we go to that real quick, is there anything else on the Bellator card you were looking forward to?
I don't know if I'm really looking forward to it. Just another matchup that stood out is Daniel Weichel and Timur Kisnev.
Okay.
Kisnev's undefeated. I think it's an interesting matchup there.
I like what Bellator has done in signing some real interesting prospects, especially from that region of the world, Eastern Europe, Western Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see how Kisnev does here because he could end up being not too far off of fighting for the title too if he goes on a good run.
For sure.
But they've got some good talent, good young talent in Bellator. It's worth keeping an eye on a lot of the talent they have there. Usman Nurmagomedov being one of them, of course.
Mm-hmm.
One of probably the brightest.
Yeah.
It goes with the name, right?
Yep.
But yeah. So over on UFC, the following night, headlined by Derek Lewis and Sergey Spivak at heavyweight. Do you like this one? What do you think
Yeah, I
about
mean,
this one?
Derek Lewis is always entertaining, as long as
Sure.
he doesn't get tired or get taken down.
Yeah, but even at
Uh,
that, if he loses and gets on the mic, he's still entertaining.
that's true too. He's an entertaining guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just when he's around, everything's just kind of more fun and lighthearted. It seems. So
Well said.
I like it.
All right. Do you give Spivak a chance?
Yeah, give him a chance. Yeah,
Okay.
everyone's got
Like a
it.
cursory chance, or
It's
just like a
it's
because it's
heavyweight.
heavyweight.
It's
Yeah, it's
heavyweight.
heavyweight.
Everyone's got
Literally
a
anything can
chance.
happen. Gotcha. We already talked about the judges potentially. Who knows what we'll get? I'm sure the elite level at both sides. So, other fights on the card that what else are you looking forward to?
I love this kid, Jack Della Maddalena. He's gonna be one of my guys. He's
Oh,
I'll
you think
just
so?
I'll put him on the roster now.
Okay.
Yeah, he can be one of my
I want you to build a roster like by
Mm-hmm.
the end of the year. I want
Okay.
5 fighters on this roster. 5 guys
Okay.
that you have. And if you can't get 5, then you have to quit the show.
All right.
All right.
Fair. Uh,
Him and Danny Roberts. That'll be a good fight.
yeah, so I like that fight. Adolfo Vieira versus Cody Brundage. I like that fight.
I'm always interested when Vieira is on the card. He's just too fascinating. Even though I don't think it doesn't seem like he's necessarily got this upward trajectory that's going to get too far.
Mm-mm.
in the sport, but he's too fascinating because of obviously his standout grappling.
Yep. He was almost kind of one of my guys, but I don't know if he's going to be around that long in the sport.
He very well may not.
So,
He's a little older, right?
well, he had such a long jiu-jitsu career, and now he's coming over to MMA. I don't know. I think it's more to see.
Oh, he's 33. He's younger than I thought.
To be determined.
He's much younger than I thought, but I feel like we just haven't seen a lot of evolution from him yet. And he
Yeah, I
carries
think
so much muscle.
he could do so much
just
better at 205, I think.
yeah, maybe, but his body type in general isn't the greatest body type for MMA.
I don't know.
You want to have a little bit more lithe on you
Tyron
than
Woodley
too
did
thickly
pretty
muscled.
good.
Yeah, but I mean, even at that, he was very limited in a lot of ways too.
I guess.
He had this explosion, but he only had it in spurts, and then a lot of the times he wasn't doing anything. And then as
Okay.
he got older, he just wasn't doing anything.
Fair.
Yeah. The only other fight that I wanted to make sure I singled out, not that I think this is a bad card, but like let's face it, it's a come down from the previous one by like a country mile. And it doesn't even stand out compared to the Bellator card this weekend. I do like I think it's the co-main event. It looks like it's listed as such right now. Iwan Kutelaba and Kennedy and Zechiku.
Yeah, that's a good. That
Kutelaba is just he's a
205
nutcase in like
yeah.
the best way for the sport. I don't mean that to be an insult, but he's just like he goes in there and is just like almost like a psycho. He just wants to kill.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna put the security in the ring during introductions to keep him away from attacking.
Probably
his opponent.
should.
Yeah.
They should probably do that for him like every time. There should be like an E1 plan
Yeah.
that they just bring out every time he's on the card. It's like, how about we just put people in front?
Let's pretend. Hopefully, he doesn't pretend he's knocked out again.
Yeah, hopefully you learned that lesson. But that'll be a fun fight too. Hopefully it goes the way I think probably you and I are both hoping, which is maybe it doesn't end up being one that we're talking about the decision later on.
Yeah.
But that is, hey, you know what? Actually, real quick, I did want to ask you. I don't know if you had any thoughts on this, or if you just want me to give my thoughts. If we were to pick one fight from this card that we expect to go the distance and be a fight that we're going to be talking about, judging wise, what do you think it is?
Let me pull it up, the full card, then.
Sure. I'll tell you while you're doing that. I'll actually make my pick. My pick would be Jennifer Maia against Marina Moroz at women's flyweight.
Yeah, you got
that one seems to have the makings of it.
You got Jennifer Maia seems to always be in those kind of close fights too. Plus the division, you got the statistics on your side with that one.
Yep, that's my thinking.
But I'm gonna go with Maria Oliveira and Vanessa Demopoulos at 115.
Yeah, that makes sense. If I was to pick let's say, because we both picked women's fights, if I was to pick a men's fight, I would say, actually, the way this is lining up, I feel like we're going to have a lot of rounds we're talking about. I just feel like we're going to be it's going to be a much different show next week than this week. I'm going to say Charles Johnson and Zalga Sumagulov.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
I can see that.
I was thinking Miles Johnson, Vince Morales.
Honestly, like I said, a lot of these could go.
Like so,
Chase
we got
Sherman versus Waldo Cortez Acosta could certainly be that too. The heavyweight fight,
guys, end that in the first.
Always, it should just be scheduled one round. We know this.
All right, that does it for this episode. We'll be back again on Monday to break down the interesting rounds from Bellator and the UFC. Probably a lot of rounds, as it seems.
Hopefully not an insane amount, but we'll see. We'll see what we end up with. So enjoy the fights this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening.